And India bolstering ties with Western for Russia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lending an ear to the visiting Vladimir Putin on resolving the conflict in Ukraine, stressing the side of peace.
भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है, भारत का पक्ष है और वो पक्ष शांति का है। हम शांति के हर प्रयासों का समर्थन करते हैं और हम शांति के हर प्रयासों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर के खड़े।
У нас была возможность, дали мне такую возможность подробно рассказать о том, что происходит на как раз украинском направлении и что нами предпринимается совместно с некоторыми другими партнерами, в том числе с Соединенными Штатами, по вопросу возможного мирного урегулирования этого кризиса.
Beyond geopolitics, the leaders agreeing to expand trade until 2030. Well, several memoranda exchanged. Mr. Putin also assuring India of, quote, uninterrupted fuel supplies, calling Russia a reliable supplier of energy. A summit marking Mr. Putin's first visit to India in almost 4 years. And our correspondents joining us live, Ishan, Garg in New Delhi and Dasha, Chernyshova in Moscow, both covering this story for CNN. Let's start with you, Ishan. We heard that Mr. Modi saying India is on the side of peace. Mr. Putin at least not publicly disputing that. What Mr. Modi says, will that have any significant sway on Russia's actions in Ukraine?
Well, that's right, Vesu. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India is ready to support any peace plan. Prime Minister Modi also said that India is on the side of peace, making a oblique reference to what the Western countries had been saying, that India cannot remain in the middle. It needs to choose a side, by which, of course, they meant that India should go against Russia and cut off its ties with Russia. But Prime Minister Modi saying that it is on the side of peace, of course, not clearly saying that it's on Ukraine's side here. When Prime Minister Modi and President Vladimir Putin met, this was an item on the agenda. And before this meeting, we had heard that European envoys to New Delhi had been asking the Indian government that Prime Minister Modi should use his influence over President Putin to ensure that a peace deal does get signed. Now, in terms of whether this will have any sway over President Putin, that remains to be seen. What is also worth considering here is that Russia has been increasingly reliant on countries like India and China to prop up its economy that's been hit badly by Western sanctions, which is why President Putin is traveling to India with a huge business delegation. The idea is, of course, to increase India-Russia trade. President Putin saying that he wants that to go up to $100 billion. So in terms of influence, India does have that economic heft here, as it is supporting Russia's economy. But does that economic heft translate into Prime Minister Modi's influence into getting President Putin to sign a peace deal? That remains to be seen.
Right, but in terms of economic heft, the two sides have reached agreement on diversifying trade into 2030, and that would make a substantial difference to India, which has seen trade skewed in favor of Russia due to those massive energy imports. What are the details of that deal that has been reached as a consequence of this visit?
Well, both sides have signed a range of deals with increasing their cooperation in multiple fronts. So trade and investment certainly a big part of it. But apart from that, cultural exchanges, skill development and mobility of Indian workers potentially going to Russia and working there. Another item that solves Russia's purpose of a labor shortage there. Both sides have also decided that they are going to increase that bilateral trade to $100 billion by 2030, and also the idea that they will work on a free trade agreement between India and a bloc of countries, including Central Asian nations as well as Russia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying that economic cooperation is certainly a big priority.
आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनने का
Another area of cooperation, of course, is nuclear, with President Vladimir Putin saying that India and Russia are going to work on developing nuclear energy resources. 2 of those facilities have already been constructed and 4 more are under construction. And Russia also wants to supply India with more nuclear technology, including small modular reactors as well.
All right, Dasha, let's bring you in now. Mr. Putin, not just nuclear, other aspects of energy as well, more controversially, uninterrupted fuel supplies to India, suggesting neither Delhi nor Moscow is, at least at this point, openly willing to bend to pressure from Washington.
That's right. We are hearing that energy cooperation, and when it comes to the flows of Russia's gas and oil, is something that is defined as one of the key pillars of the strategic cooperation between Moscow and New Delhi. And the Russian president has been vowing that that should stay the same way. And he has been speaking very clearly that that should be an uninterrupted supply of Russian energy.
Успешно развивается партнерство в энергетике. Россия является надежным поставщиком энергоресурсов и всего, что необходимо для развития энергетики Индии. Мы готовы и далее обеспечивать бесперебойную поставку топлива для быстрорастущей индийской экономики.
And the Russian president has been saying that India has become one of the key suppliers of energy to Europe, not just because of the Russian supplies to India, but also because there has been some Russian investment into the Indian economy when it comes to the refining projects inside India itself, stressing that one of key companies in Russia has made that purchase worth about $20 billion. So we understand that that very important sector of cooperation will stay the course, even though Russia has been seeing some problems with that because of those international sanctions. But Russia also knows that energy income to its budget is absolutely important to keep it alive.
All right, Dasha, the last few days we have been talking to you about this visit, and we've been calling it a high-stakes visit for Vladimir Putin. So suggesting that he could get a great deal, but he has something at stake as well in Mr. Putin. On balance now, do you think Mr. Putin has achieved what he wanted out of this visit?
Well, we have heard the Russian president saying that he had dinner at the private house of Narendra Modi, Indian Prime Minister. So that obviously goes to show how important that visit was and how successful it has been. It has been thoroughly prepared, and we are now hearing that the countries have agreed to bolster cooperation in different economic spheres, trying to rearrange and enlarge the scope of the trade that the two are conducting. We are hearing about the strategy of the development of trade and economic ties until 2030, something that has been agreed upon. We are hearing that they are going to speed up consultations on the construction of another nuclear power plant by Russian specialists in India, as well as expand the scope of cooperation when it comes to different industrial areas. We have also heard during those consultations in India that they have agreed that there will be a joint venture of Russia and India dealing with pharmaceuticals that will be constructed in Russia's Kaluga region. So the whole scope of the economic portfolio has been discussed, but also very importantly, the two have been talking about the coordination of their international positions, be it on the issues that are related to geopolitics, but also when they coordinate their efforts in the organizations such as BRICS, G20 or SCO.
All right, thanks for that. For CNA, Dasha, Chernyshova in Moscow, and Ishan Garg for us there in New Delhi.